I'm Andrew St. James. In meditating about the cross and the importance of the cross in the Christian life, St. Anthony of Padua wrote, "Christians must lean on the cross of Christ just as travelers lean on a staff when they begin a long journey. They must have the passion of Christ deeply embedded in their minds and hearts, because only from it can they derive peace, grace, and truth." Father Grew, in meditating upon the necessity of the cross, writes, "There is not and never can be upon this earth any real happiness but by the way of the cross." Is the chronic use of antidepressants a way for us to avoid the cross?
It seems that in our modern era, we are using medications to get rid of the pain, to cover up the pain. There could be a whole wonderful articles and sermons written about covering up the pain, but never getting to the root of the problem. Always covering it up, always trying to take away the pain rather than embracing the pain.
We may have in fact become too dependent on pharmaceuticals.
It's interesting that there has been an increase in prescription of antidepressant medications for individuals who do not have a diagnosis of depression. And we see this, it's called off-label use of medications, using them for purposes for which they do not have FDA approval. And in fact, many use of psychotropic medications in children are off-label in that they have not had the extensive testing done to receive FDA approval for all the purposes that they're used with in children specifically. And that is something that is very concerning about the use of antidepressant medications. Is oftentimes in an attempt to help children, we're doing a little bit of an experiment, and sometimes that experiment works wonderfully well, other times it does not, such as when we realize that the use of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, the most frequently used class of antidepressants in youth, actually is associated with an increase in suicidal ideation, thinking about suicide in youth.
When we look at the extent of the use of antidepressants in our society, it is extraordinary. There's some recent data that says 11% of Americans over age 12 now take an antidepressant on a daily basis, which is really extraordinary. Well, when we try to even begin to assess A, why, and B, is this is a good thing, I do think we need to take a step back and look at philosophically, what does it mean to be human? And I think if we go back to grow up, to be alive, it's a difficult business. And there is a reason to be melancholic often. I mean, life is brief. Life has setbacks. We go through tough times, and, we die. So any sort of philosophical approach to life sees that there can be plenty of space in your life to be gloomy, unhappy at times, and find things difficult. At the same time, I think if you look at a philosophy of being, we see that difficult moments can be periods of growth. And that maybe nature has given us a signal saying, if you're depressed, if you're unhappy, maybe this is a sign you need to make changes in your life. And you need to look at what are you doing in life? So why are you so unhappy? Does it have to do with relationships? Is it the job you're in? Some way that you're living which is not fulfilling. So depression or gloominess or unhappiness could be a very effective thing, sort of honed by evolution and nature to make change and to season us, so to speak, and deepen us. In some ways, I think it's sad if we lose that sense of philosophy as a nature of being. That, human beings really aren't crafted by evolution to be happy all the time and to be content all the time. My own personal feeling is if happiness visits now and then, and contentness visits now and then, consider yourself lucky.
One theory about depression is that it is evolutionarily adaptive, that periods of depression allow individuals to withdraw from something that's not working, whether it's a relation, in modern times, that is a relationship, a job, whatever life circumstances aren't working, and the depression forces them to withdraw and gives them the opportunity to think about it, reflect, and make some important life decisions.
I think that there are two things. One is that the world fails to satisfy us. So we are thirsting and hungering. We are in a great famine in the spirit, in the soul, in the mind. Then the second thing is that we run from the cross. And so when we're in the midst of a great suffering, instead of embracing it, we run from it. The Stations of the Cross, I'm amazed in so many churches how many Stations of the Cross actually have at the second station, Jesus takes up the cross, how he is reaching out to embrace the cross. He's really embracing it, ready to kiss it, rather than shunning it and going, oh, this is terrible, but he's embracing it. And we haven't been able to show our people how to do this, to show the faithful how to embrace the cross in their life, and to help them carry it. And so this part too is so very important. And Pope John Paul II talks about this in Salvifici Doloris, in his document on suffering, of how to be a good Samaritan, right at the end of the encyclical, right? How to see human suffering on the side of the road and not to pass it by, but to stop down and to help in that suffering. To really, again, to suffer with that person. And of course the Good Samaritan is a figure for Christ, who reaches down to humanity and pours oil in our wounds and takes us to the inn of the church. And he says, I'll be back. I'll be back. Entrusts us to the church to take good care of those who are suffering. And then he says, I'll be back, and I will render an account when I come back from doing that.